let's take a look at how to install BB Toolkit. And this is the same for the free version and the pro version. So in Blender, and of course, before you do this, make sure you download the zip file and you know where you've saved it on your computer. So head over to Edit, Preferences, and select Add-ons in the left column. Click the Install button here, and in this file browser, navigate to the location where you've saved the zip file. Here I'm going to select the Pro version and click Install Add-on. The add-on will appear here now. So just to enable it, you need to tick the box. And if we open this up, you can see this is where you will find the add-on in Blender. Conversely, to remove the add-on, untick the box and click Remove. And this is where you will find the add-on on the sidebar. If you don't see the sidebar, it's because it's probably collapsed, closed, and that looks like that. Now to open the panel, you can click this little arrow just there, or press the N key, like so. So here we are in Blender version 4. BB Toolkit also works in 3.5 and 3.6. I'll start off by deleting all of these objects in the default scene. And immediately you notice two differences here in the add-on. One says camera not found, and that's because we just deleted it. And the other one says object not found. That's under tools. And just be aware that if you have something selected here, but not in the viewport, this still adapts to your selection. Okay. So we'll start from the top. And the first one we have is overlays. So to show you that, I'm going to do Shift A and add a plane. I'm going to press scale that up a little bit. I'm going to do Shift A, mesh and cylinder. Let's bring that up just like so. And these two options here, if we click the first one, wireframe, you can see it's under overlays. And this will provide you with the wireframe overlay in the viewport. Now you can see that there. Very simple. It's a toggle button, so it stays on when you click it and you turn it off by clicking it again. Likewise with face orientation, everything will turn blue normally or red if it's facing in this the negative of the positive normal. So that's also a toggle just there. Now both of these are, in fact, everything here is default Blender, apart from this bit here, but we'll get to that later on, and also the 3-light setup. Anyway, these options are available under this drop-down menu here as more viewport overlays, and you have wireframe just there and face orientation. And the reason I put this into the add-on is because these are used quite frequently. I certainly use them quite frequently when I'm working on projects. Again, one of the things I do is I often go up here and turn on face orientation and check my normals are all okay. So having that here as a simple click, because you can see it's way quicker to do that than go up here. Whoops, see I've clicked the wrong button already. Click there and then make a selection. So really handy to have that. And perhaps we can add some more overlays there in future updates. So we'll close that for now. And let's look at the next section. So to do that, I'm going to select both of these and press delete. Now, a minute ago, you noticed I used Shift A to add the plane and the cylinder. Like that's how you normally do it. And I still encourage you to learn the shortcuts, of course. This is, it's an add-on. It's not part of Blender. What you can do here under objects is add all of these primitives, mesh objects and primitives, just with the click of a button. So whilst you may know the Shift A command, which you normally use there, or use the add menu here, okay, we don't have any icons to click. There's no visual clues to, you look at something like Maya where you have tool shelves and you have lots of different tabs and icons and so forth. I kind of miss that. So I thought it would be nice to have these available here. So let's click on plane, and just like that we have a plane. And for everything here, the operator panel will appear in the viewport in the bottom left. So from here, you mustn't click away, because if you click away, you lose that. If I click that again, you can't change it after the fact. And that's quite common for Blender add-ons and other features built into Blender. Let's add that plane again. If I click here and drag, in this operator panel, I can interactively change the size like so. Okay, so let's delete that. And we'll go through these. This is a mesh circle. I'll zoom in a bit, you can see that better. So we can decrease or increase the vertex count, and the radius there, like so. I'll also delete that. And I won't go through everyone. I'll just click them here and just move them to the side, like that. And we have the cone as well. It's quite cool. You can do all sorts of stuff with that, like this, like so. Let's move that perhaps over there. Now we have UV sphere, of course. You can change the options there if you wish. A cylinder, again, you can change all the options down here very quickly. Let's move that over there. And we also have an icosphere. Change the levels, subdivisions, and the radius, of course. Let's put that over there. And torus, infamous torus, very nice. Let's just do that. Change the options there and move that over here. Next we have text, standard text in Blender. Hit the tab key to edit it. And away you go. Oops, not enter, tab. So that's text object. And finally, camera. And of course we have no camera. So what I like about this button is if I click on the camera, it would do it from the viewport perspective that I'm looking at right now. So I'm looking at it from this direction. If I click camera, it places the camera from my vantage point, and there it is there. That's right, that's quite neat. The next part we have is lights. I've got no objects now because you can see the menu has actually become shorter now. So if I was to add a plane, we now get more tools and features available to us, which only apply to mesh objects, basically. So there's our plane, and let's add a UV sphere. And let's bring that up just above the plane like that. So we have that there now. Let's right click and shade smooth on the sphere. So we have a light section here. And again, you can do Shift A, light, and select something from here, or use the option, the menu there. But again, it's not very intuitive. It's not visible. I'm a visual guy. I'm sure most of us are. Let's just click on area light there. Of course, we can't see the effect, so let's turn on rendering viewport, rendered viewport. You can see our area light is here, and it looks great. Now, the more astute out there would have noticed that when I added this light, it didn't add it down there at the 3D cursor. Because if you do that normally, Shift A, add a light area, it will place it there. There's not much use for us down there. I'd rather it was up here somewhere. And the power, the default power, is set to 10. Of course, you're going to change that. Whoops, let's try 120. That's fine, that's good. But the point is, rather than giving you a default, not very useful light or other things, let's just click, or values even, let's just click that. It puts it somewhere a bit more sensible, and also by default the value is 120 in the power. That's a lot more user friendly than just 10 and in the ground. So I quite like that. Let's look at the next one. We've got point light. The same principle applies to all of these. It's always going to be above the object, slightly above. In fact, let's see how far it is. That's 6 meters above the ground level, effectively. So it's a bit more useful for most things. And the same for the spotlight. There it is. Perhaps a bit low in power there. So head over here and increase that to what you like. Perhaps a lot higher, actually. So there's our spotlight. And finally, we have the sunlight as such. Very bright light that is. So let's delete that. And what you also get with the Pro version of BB Toolkit is a 3 light setup with 1 click. So this to work, again, you have to have this object selected. And in fact, if you move your mouse pointer over it and the tooltip pops up, it says add a 3 light setup, tip, select an object first. So we'll select a sphere first and we'll click 3 light setup. And what this add-on now does is it adds 3 lights. Let's find them in our outliner. I'll just talk you through what we've got here. We've got a circle, which is the one in the, well, the center there, where the lights are basically pointing to, or the object that you selected, basically. That we selected this, and that's where the center is pretty much. So that's where that circle is placed. We also have 3 area lights. If I select one here, this one is the fill light. If you don't like where they're positioned, simply move them down, like so, and so on and so forth. Now you'll notice as I move these, the lights continue to point at this location. And this is true for every light that's added, which is really neat. What if my camera, it's looking from this direction, looking like this, but I don't want my lights to be in this orientation? Well, you can fix that very easily. So what I've decided to do is add this circle, which is the parent for everything else for these lights. So with that selected, you can select the rotation gizmo if you want to, or hit R and then Z. And you can rotate the lights as a group, as one. So you may want to position that in a way that is better for your camera angle and also your scene. Okay? And you may have noticed when I moved these, of course, they continue to point at that point there where the circle is. And that's because each of these lights also has a constraint applied to it or added to it. And you can see there's a constraint, object constraint, track 2. And the target is an empty axis. So in this case, I've got the rim light selected, and there's the area rim light target, and that is an empty axis. If I select that now and move it, you'll notice the rim light here is looking everywhere this axis goes. So if you want to mix up your lights a bit more, of course you can also rotate them as well, whichever way you like. You can do that with these empties, and they also go together like that as well. You can move that, not just rotate it, of course. Okay, let's just undo that. So anyway, the point is each of these lights has a target. So if you want it like that, that's fine. Or you can manually change these to be somewhere else. Let's add an area light. See how quick that is? It's very easy to do these things. And delete that and the spot. But yeah, I did 3 lights there in a split second. Right, what else do we have here? We've got the render options now. And this one is just exposing some of the options that we have available to us under the render properties just there. You can change our max samples. We'll put that down to 5. And for this demonstration, we can select our render engine, cycles EV. I'll leave it on cycles. This is what we've got there. Not material preview, which uses EV. Let's use cycles. But anyway, you have a render image button. Of course, normally you'd press F12 to invoke a render of an image. You can just click the button here. We have render animation as well. So let's just say you rendered an image or a test render. You want to see that again. You could press F11, or you can just click the view render button. And of course, that's empty because we haven't rendered anything. And there we go. There's our image, rendered it. As I say, to view that again, you can go F11 or view render, and it will bring up the render we just made. If you have an animation, let's animate the sphere. Let's go to solid mode, move it over there on frame 1. I'm going to press I to insert a keyframe for location. Let's go to frame 50, move the sphere over here, press I, location, and shift left key. Go back to the first frame, press the spacebar to play. And let's just bring that down to 50 frames. And zoom in there with my mouse wheel. And again, let's just play that now. We have a very basic animation. So with that done, we can click render. Let's select the EV actually. Render animation. There we go. Frame 10, 20, and so on. Let's escape to stop that. So that's working lovely. And if you click view render, that will display the last frame that was rendered for the animation. One of the biggest bugbears of any Blender user, in fact any probably 3D user, is non-uniform scale or location or even rotation. That's called a uniform scale because they all share the same value. If I was to do this, that now becomes non-uniform, excuse me, and that will create many problems for us if we're using things like bevel, modifiers, and other modifiers. BB Toolkit detects in real time any non-default values for objects. So location, rotation, and scale. So this plane is an example there. We know that that plane has a non-uniform scale. So to fix that, you'd normally go to Control A and then select the one that you wish to apply. So what I've decided to do is select the top 4 options here and put them here for easy access. So for example, the scale is off. We can hit Apply Scale. You can see there our scale is now 1, which is great. If we rotate this, immediately the rotation values here I've changed from their defaults, and BB Toolkit has detected that and shown us it's not really a problem when you're rotating things or moving them. That's fine. You can ignore them if they're red, but certainly for the scale, you don't want to ignore that. You probably want to apply that every single time. With an object selected, I'm going to click bevel. I use that quite often, of course, I'm sure you do. Set an amount of bevel and segments and click add. And that will add a bevel modifier to our cube. Here's the operator panel, which you can change the values there as you wish. Again, don't click away because you lose that. It's now done. But you can always come back to the modifier if you want to make adjustments. What else do we have? Let's have a look at Boolean. Now we click that. Obviously we need more than just one object. We need 2 or 3 or whatever. So what I'll do is I'll select that cube, Shift D, duplicate it, excuse me, and I bring that out there and then up a touch like that. Now select the original cube and select the other cube here, or use the eyedropper like so, and click add. Now you can see there the type is union. Let's just close one actually. As you can see here, union is what we selected, but we can change it here to intersect and it does that, or difference and it does that. To show you what that looks like, I'll just turn off the visibility of our second cube. Now we have our Boolean in action. Of course you can change that, but then that's going to reappear again because you're still in this operation. So with that done, I'm happy with that. I'm going to apply our Boolean. All right, so let's close that one now. Oops, close the Boolean. The mirror object is quite cool, of course. We always use mirrors. So normally you want to split an object and do half the work and the mirror does the rest for you. Other times you may want the object to be mirrored elsewhere around your scene. So there's 2 options here. Object, which is your standard, use the object's origin as the mirror axis. And you can choose X, Y, or Z axes, or a combination thereof, up to you. The other option is cursor. So that basically means we're going to use the 3D cursor as our mirror axis. To demonstrate that, I'll shift and right click and place the 3D cursor over there, like that. And I'm going to select cursor and then X, Y, and Z and click add. And now we have a 3-way mirror happening. And in the operator panel, you can make some changes to that if you're not happy with your selection. Maybe you changed your mind, select one of them, or turn on clipping or off. You get the point. And again, that's added a mirror modifier here. And it's using the mirror object, and that's taken the location of the 3D cursor, because that's what we had selected, placed an empty at that location, and assigned that to the mirror object as the axis, just there. So that basically means you can change the mirror by moving this like so. So you can get some really cool effects. And if you were to animate that, actually, you could do some motion graphics as well. How cool is that? So yeah, there's your mirror. Let's delete that. Let's get rid of that. Let's delete the empty that we have left behind. And I'm going to put back our 3D cursor at the world origin. I can do that with, there should be a button, but I don't have one. Let's do Shift S, bring up the menu, cursor to world origin. Let's look at solidify. We can't do it on this object, of course. We can do it on this plane, I guess. So let's select the plane and click solidify and add a thickness there, value, and click add. And there it is. You can change the value there in the operator panel, of course. Now it's worth pointing out, and you won't see that on the plane, that, and I think I will add this in the future update, is to add the option for even thickness there. I'll show you why, because if I select this cube and I delete these faces here, just so we have an infinitely thin object, like so, and I add the same, well, a bit less maybe, add the same solidify modifier, you can see it's added it, and that's fine, but it's not evenly distributed the depth of that solidify. So you can see there, the larger I make it, the more it collapses itself like that. Which I always thought was a bit weird in Blender, it does that. But the point is, you can just come over here after the fact, not now, after the fact, and click even thickness. So if we're happy with that, we can just click even thickness, and we have that. Of course, you can change the value there after the fact again, either way. And other options like normals, and so on and so on. So that's a very quick way of adding a solidify modifier. Let's actually apply that. Let's make it a bit thicker. Let's apply the modifier. And let's look at subdivision surface. You know what this is, of course. And I forgot to mention actually, in Blender 4, as you may probably already know by now, the modifier panel has changed to this. So it now becomes categorized, tidier. Some people hate it, some people love it. I don't particularly mind it, but my muscle memory still goes to here when I want to add things from here, and I find that they're not there. So it takes a bit of getting used to. So what we want to add is a subdivision surface that's under generate, where it's always been, and you have to select it from down there. Let me delete that. But now you can just click that and select how many subdivisions you want. Let's go with 3 and click add. Now it adds obviously the subdivision surface modifier, and in the operators panel there we can make some adjustments here as before. And you'll notice as well we chose 3 there in the add-on, and that's true, it did put 3 levels for the render, but not for the viewport. That's left at 2. You can change that, of course, to any number that you like. If you want to add an array to that, again, you can go to modifier, generate array. Okay, for linear, that's very simple to do. But you can also do that here by selecting linear, choosing a count, and click add. And there you go. Operator panel, change that to whatever number you like, and that's great. And if you want that, if you like that, you can click away, of course, and you can see the modifier there. You can make further adjustments as you please. So I'm going to delete that. Oh, in fact, I'll undo that, because obviously if you want to change the direction of the array, you change that here. So if that's 0, change that to 1 or 2 or 3. You get the idea. Just change the axes there, depending on what you want. There's a couple of do's and don'ts with the radial array for that to work, and it works in this very simple way. Once you do it once, you never forget. And that's our object. We want to, say, add things around this chamfered edge there. And let's create a very simple object. Let's add a cone. And I quite like that. Let's go with that. So in fact, I'm going to move it this way. So in the front view, I can do that. I'm going to position that there. I'm going to press S for scale. Bring it something like this. And perhaps make it a little bit taller. S, Z, Z. And of course, our scale is non-uniform, so I'm going to apply the scale and press R to rotate and move that so it intersects the object like that. So anyway, there's our object, and we want this to be radial arrayed. That's a word. And we want that to go all the way around this cylinder. So with that selected, and before we do anything here, actually, this works with the 3D cursor again. So This is really important. This needs to be at the center of your radial array, basically. So if you want this to be, if I go to the top view, we want this to go around in this way. Okay, it's a terrible circle. We need to obviously make sure our center is here. That's where our 3D cursor should be. It doesn't matter if the 3D cursor isn't directly at this point. The fact that it's in the middle of this object is good enough. So what you can also do, if that's not the case, let's say your object, or these objects here, were over here and over there, like that, maybe even up. So our 3D cursor is down there and our object is here. So what you want to do now would do firstly is move the 3D cursor to the center of this object. So you could do that simply by doing, with the object selected, you can do Shift S cursor to selected. That would bring it to the middle or the origin point of this cylinder. Or you can select these face loops here and do Control S cursor to selected, and that will put it in the middle of those there. Or you can do the top one as well. It really doesn't matter as long as it's from the top in the middle. So let's select that one now, and we select radial. Now the next option you have is X, Y, or Z. Right, now we know in this instance we want to go around this way, which is looking down the Z axis, which is up and down in our viewport. So we select the Z here, and we give it the number of instances we want around. Do 12 and click add. And like magic, we now have 12 of these in a nice radial array around this object. So as long as your object is in the position that you want it to be in, and you have the 3D cursor in the center of the radial array that you wish to create, that's all you need to do. Select the object, make your options here, your count, click add. Of course, you can change the count in the operator panel just down there. You can also change the axes, but obviously that's not what we want. And you'll get some really funky results here. So that's looking like a really weird alien flower there. And we have the Y one as well. That's going to go a bit crazy as well. That's not what we want. So back to Z. That looks really cool. What's nice about that is if you change all these after the fact, obviously you can't do it again with this because it's now done its operation, it's done its job. If you want to change this afterwards, say you wanted to have, I don't know, 10 instead of 12, you'll notice this is not filling the circle completely. And that's because our empty has a rotation value of 27.6 something, which was okay for 12 or thereabouts, but not good enough. That's probably off actually. It's not good enough for 10. That should actually be 36, because 10 times 36 is 360. So if you do the changes after the fact, you can do it that way. Just change the rotation of the empty and the count there, and you're done. So very quickly, you get some really cool results with the radial array. I think that concludes everything, guys. So this is BB Toolkit Pro. The only difference between this one and the free version is in the free version, you don't have access to the overlays. You don't have access to the 3 lights setup. You have all the other lights, of course. And you don't have the radial array. You have a linear only. That's it. Everything else is exactly the same. So whether or not you use the Pro version or not, obviously it would be great if you did, because it supports the channel and the work that I do. And FYI, my channel is not monetized, so that really helps go towards supporting the channel. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time. Bye for now.